The first thing Maxim noticed when he stepped out of the mine was the silence. No birds. No wind through the pines. No distant crunch of boots on frozen rock from the other miners who had been working somewhere above him. Just the low press of cold air, and a sky that felt too early. He had gone in at dawn. It should have been midday at the earliest. It wasn't. Karelia, Russia. Former USSR. 1986. The village sat tucked inside a forested mountain in the north of the region, small enough that everyone knew everyone, old enough that most people had already left. The mine was the reason the village existed, and when the mine went quiet under new Soviet regulations, most of the people went quiet with it, packing up and heading south toward something with a future. The ones who stayed made do. They collected shungite, the black carbon-rich stone the mountain was famous for, and sold it to water filtration companies or on the black market to people who believed in its healing properties. The low-grade surface stone was nearly worthless, $1 or $2 per pound. But the deep stuff, the kind found in the sealed-off caves further down the old shafts, that could fetch $30, $40 a pound. Maxim was a woodworker. House construction, furniture repair, whatever the village needed. He wore more than one hat, as men in small places always do. But the money had been getting worse, and his family had been getting bigger, and one evening he found himself thinking about his father's stories of a particular vein deep in the mountain, a thin-slotted cavity walled in reddish and greenish mineral banners, the rock inside it so dark and dense it swallowed light. He decided he would go alone. He didn't want anyone else to know where the good ore was. Monday morning, he packed 3 days of food, filled his canteen, and started up the mountain. The climb was hard but familiar. The trees grew at an angle along the slope, giving him things to grab onto. He passed streams and caught glimpses of elk moving quietly between the trunks. By the time he reached the top and saw the flat black expanse of low-grade shungite that all the villagers knew about, he barely glanced at it. He moved past it, toward the cave mouth, set up camp at the entrance, and slept. In the morning, he broke camp and went in. The first sections of the mine were well traveled. He could even hear other people somewhere deeper, the dull knock of someone working a surface vein. He moved past them all, following his father's directions from memory, going further than anyone bothered to go, until the last of the mounted torches gave out and he was relying entirely on his headlamp and a backup flashlight clipped to his belt. He found the cavity exactly where his father said it would be. A thin slot in the rock, barely wide enough to turn sideways into. The walls glowed faintly under his light, red and green minerals staining the stone like old paint. And inside, embedded in the dark, the black shungite caught his beam and scattered it back in sharp fragments. He had made it. He squeezed inside and started filling his pack. Then his headlamp died. The flashlight was still working. He told himself it was fine. He told himself he had everything he needed. But the space felt smaller with only one light source, and somewhere between pulling the last rocks from the wall and turning to leave, everything went black. He came to with no memory of falling. His first thought was dehydration. His second was gas, but the shaft wasn't deep enough for that. His third thought was that he had no idea how long he had been out. He shoved the rest of the rocks into his pack, found the cave entrance by feel and by light, and climbed. When he stepped out into the open, it was still daylight. Early light, almost. The kind that comes just after dawn. He told himself he couldn't have been out for long. He told himself that. The flat surface area where the other miners had been working was empty. Not just quiet. Empty. No packs left against the rocks. No tools. No scraps of surface stone set aside for collection. Like the mountain had been cleared. The cold was wrong too. It had been summer when he went in. This felt like October. He moved into the forest and started down. No birds. No sound at all. The trees stood in total silence, and as he moved deeper into them, he realized they were wrong. Some trees he knew as landmarks, old pines he had passed on the way up, were gone. In their place were stumps he didn't recognize, tall and fresh-cut. And in the gaps where those stumps stood, other trees had grown that he had no memory of. He came out above the valley where the village should have been visible. There was nothing there. No rooftops. No chimney smoke. No movement. Just trees, and the pale gray of the open sky above the valley floor. He stood for a long moment. Then he started walking toward where the village was supposed to be. He reached the stream that separated the mountain slope from the lower ground and stopped. The bridge was gone. Not collapsed. Not damaged. Gone, as if it had never been there. He crossed on stones and kept walking. A kilometer from the village, he found the two large stones that marked the entrance. Every villager knew them. They rose 2 and 3 meters out of the earth, old boundary markers, older than anyone's memory. They were exactly where they were supposed to be. The village was not. He sat down some distance from the stones next to a big tree and ate the last of his food slowly. As he sat there, he looked up. 2 figures stood near the stones. Brown robes. Standing completely still. And small, too small, no taller than a meter, dwarfed by the stones beside them in a way that made no sense for adults. He hadn't heard them approach. He had no idea how long they had been there. He looked away. Every instinct he had told him not to let them know he had seen them. He sat very still. When he finally stood and moved away, he did not look back. He decided to head to the nearest neighboring village. It was several kilometers further, but it was something. A direction. He had just started moving when he felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Slowly, he turned. It was right there. Standing half behind a tree, 10 meters away at most. One of them. The brown robe. In the full light of the afternoon he still could not see a face. Just a dark circle where a face should have been, and 2 small hands on the bark of the tree. It was watching him. He ran. Down the hill. Branches across his face. Pack swinging. He hit the flat ground at the base of the slope and felt something strike him hard from behind, not painful, more like being pushed by something massive, like the air pressure change inside a fast-moving vehicle, and then the ground came up. And everything went dark. 3 villagers were repairing the wooden bridge when they saw a figure making its way down the mountain. Winter hiking was unusual, but not unheard of. Emergencies happened. Doctors were scarce. They watched the figure descend. As it came closer, one of them stopped working. They recognized him. Maxim walked past them without stopping. He didn't seem confused. He didn't seem hurt. He was heading toward his house like a man coming home from an ordinary trip, his pack on his back, his jacket the same color it had been when he left, his boots the same boots, his face unchanged. His wife opened the door. She could not speak. He set the pack down and started to apologize for being late. She told him he had been gone for a year and a half. They had held a memorial. Search parties had gone up the mountain the previous autumn. They had documented his jacket color, his pack markings, his boot soles. So that if anyone ever found a body, they would know whose it was. He was standing in front of her in that same jacket. That same pack. His hair had not grown. His beard had not come in. He was not even particularly dirty, not the way a man would be after a year and a half in the wilderness. He was exactly as he had been on the Monday morning he left. He told them about the cave. He told them about the empty mountain. He told them about the small figures in brown robes, the one he saw at the valley entrance, the one watching him from the tree. Nobody believed him, nobody dared. To this day, there is no explanation for what happened to Maxim in that mountain. For him, it had been 4 days. For everyone else, a year and a half had passed without him. And his jacket, still clean. His boots, still the same. As if time itself had simply refused to touch him.